What up guys, Starkiller here. To set the spirit of Halloween, I'm going to tell you 3 crazy encounters that have happened to me before. To set the mood, I'm going to tell in Mr. Nightmare-like voice, and if you don't know who that is, then imagine. On this particular day, I'm going to start the story. On this particular day, I was with my grandmother. I was watching TV for 20 minutes or so, when me and my brother were starting to get hungry. We told our grandmother this, and we all hopped in the car and drove to the Three Brothers. If you don't know what the Three Brothers is, it's a pizzeria that's really good. We got in line, and my grandmother told me and my brother to go find and pick out a booth. We found one near a door and sat down. Maybe not even 45 seconds later, a man walks over to us and sits down in our booth. Now, to give you a brief description of the man, he was old, had a beard, and a walker. He also was carrying a box of food. Remember that for later. He asked me and my brother a couple of questions about school. Like, is school starting up in a couple of weeks, or are you excited for it? Now, me being a kid who didn't know how strange the situation was, stupidly answered the man's questions, which later my brother would tell me that was wrong of me to do. After a short amount of time, to my confusion, the man asked me and my brother to take his food to the bathroom. To this, my brother quickly responded and said, "Sorry, but no." To this, the man started murmuring to himself. At that point, my grandmother walked up to us and saw the man sitting, which, in response to, she told him, "Excuse me, sir, this is our booth." The man got up and left. After I finished eating, I went home. I told my mother. She was shocked by this. It's crazy to think how scary this was. I can only assume that the man had some type of disability by the way he was acting. I can only hope that the man got the help that he so desperately needed. Number 2. On this particular day, I was feeling in the mood to play baseball. I told my mother could she take me to a baseball field. Today she said yes. My brother tagged along. I got my baseball gear, went in the car, and we started driving. We went to this baseball field near our house. We got in one, and after a while, my brother started pitching a couple of baseballs to me, started hitting them. I had fun. Maybe 10 minutes later, a man sits down on a bench behind the batting cage. I look over him but didn't pay much attention to him. After a while, he says something. He starts saying baseball tips to me like, "You're supposed to put your left foot up and then put the bat behind your head." To this, I really didn't care because I was a naive kid and didn't understand. After a while, it was pretty harmless, but after a while, he seemed like he was on something. He was either high or drunk, I'm not sure. After this, he starts sounding, "Are you hear me, boy?" This I still didn't really know, because I was a naive kid, and like I said before, I didn't know any better. He left, and not even 2 minutes later, to my horror, he comes back with 2 other men who are also sitting on the bench just watching me play. To this, my mom catches on and tells my brother to come and get me. My brother walks up to me and tells us that it's time to go, because these men are literally suspicious. We both get up, and me and my mother and my brother all get in our car and start driving away. To thinking back on the situation now, it's very scary and horrifying to think back on this, knowing that these 3 men, grown men, were just sitting there watching this kid play baseball. Now, some people may think this is not scary, but to me, it was very horrifying now that I think back on it. Number 3. On this day, my brother had soccer practice. I decided not to go because I usually never went to his practices. I went in my room, my brother and my mother left to go. Now, I would usually stay home alone, and I would to watch TV. Now, I watch a lot of scary stories also, and I was very suspicious and cautious of a lot of different things and factors. As I was watching TV for about 20 or 30 minutes or so, there was a knock on the door. I told my mom and told her, and she said it was a package. I went out and got the package and brought it in. Another 10 or 15 minutes or so went by, and after a while of watching TV, I heard a couple of knocks on the door. I didn't call my mother this time, because I just brushed it off, and I didn't know that was another package, and thought she would get it when she got back home. Now, I was a little scared, not gonna because I was a little nervous. I heard a little more knocking on the door. And to this, I got a little bit more nervous. Because, well, the person, if they had a package, why would they just sit there and knock on the door repeatedly? Not unless it required a signature. Eventually, the knocks turned into full-on bangs. To this, I was very alarmed. I called my mother, and she told me okay, and she told me not to worry, and I should calm down. After a while, I hung up with her because the knocking stopped. Then, after 5 minutes later, there was more banging on the door. To this, I called my mother again. She told me that she would call my cousin. My cousin was much older than me. She lived very near us. I lived in a townhome, and she lived in a townhome a couple of streets away from me. She called her and told her about the situation, and she got her husband to try to come over here. And if there was a man there, he would scare him off. I get a little bit more nervous because the person behind the door did not stop. They just kept on banging over and over and over again. I got really scared. I went up and locked my door, grabbed my guitar just in case if worse came to worse. After a while it stopped, my mom called me again and told me this situation. Apparently it was my brother that was knocking at the door. She told me to let him in. What happened was that apparently my father went and picked my brother up from soccer practice and dropped him off without my mother knowing. And to this, he didn't have a key to the door and it was locked. So he kept on knocking at the door, hoping that I would answer the door. But of course I didn't know any information of this, and neither did my mother. So this was a very scary situation for me. It was very frightening for me too, because my brother was banging on the door because it was very cold outside. This took place during the winter time, and it was very freezing. He also tried to go over around the house and try the garage, but he couldn't get it open. That's why he kept on repeating and banging on the door, because it was very cold outside and he wanted to get in. But my mother called my father and realized what was happening and told me to open the door. I opened my door up and my brother was a little mad at me, because we had a long time ago, he told me that if he was knocking on the door, he would knock in threes intervals very loudly. Now, this was a while ago, so I didn't really remember or pay much attention, and didn't cross my mind that this could have been that. This is a very scary situation for me that I hope will never happen to me again. Knowing that I could have been in danger kind of scares me, but luckily I wasn't in any harm or danger, and I'm safe. Number 4. On this particular day, this story takes place in 2020, when the coronavirus was still really big. I was on virtual school for a while. I was really bored with a lot of my classes because they were really long and carried out. And at this point in time, I really wasn't doing that well in school because it was virtual learning. It was new to me, so I wasn't really doing that good. It was lunchtime, and I own a dog, and every single day at lunchtime, I would always take him out to pee before I ate lunch. And that's exactly what I did. I grabbed my dog, we went outside and took him to pee. But this time he pooped instead of peed, and I got really mad at him. Now there was also this man I saw before on the grass. He was camping on his car, just kind of staring at me. When he pooped, I got a little bit nervous because I thought he would think that I just was going to leave it there because I didn't intend for him to pee, so I never got any bags to pick it up with. And when I started to walk away, he got out of his car and yelled at me, said, hey boy, are you going to pick this up? I told him that I took him out here to pee, and just did not expect him to poop. But then I said I was going to go get back inside and get bags to go pick it up. After this, the man did not look like he seemed to believe me, and I can't blame him. I walked inside, and the man got bags, and after I went out, I told my mother about the situation, and she got really mad. She walked outside, and to this, I walked outside with her, and saw the man picking up the poop because he didn't believe me. My mother walks up to the man and starts yelling at him, telling him that how could he yell at my child? You a grown man should not be coming over to my child and talking like this. Now, she was really right. If you're a grown man, you shouldn't really walk up to a child like that. I could see not believing me, but you shouldn't really walk up to a child as an adult about something like that. My mom told the man off, and he got back in his car and walked away. Now, after a couple of while, the man's car I've seen memorized. It's been outside my house for a while. I'm assuming that he lives in the area, but I was still kind of nervous knowing that he's still around. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. And don't forget, happy Halloween.